that alludes to rogue sapping from World of Warcraft. The rogue ability. Yeah. It's been a question ever since the first movie. What is the point of Flash Sentry? Why do so many people hate Flash Sentry? And why is Flash Sentry so polarizing? Now, the obvious answer is because bronies are stupid, but for some people, this answer is just unacceptable. But with how many people asked for a video on Flash Sentry, I had to ask, what is so discussion-worthy about a joke character? No, really, go through the 2 movies and see if you can spot the joke. Flash Sentry is your typical cool kid, he has a typical cool kid skill, but he's also nice and socially awkward. Twilight is absolutely smitten with him upon their first encounter, and the reasons why are never really explained or developed. He's absolutely smitten with Twilight for reasons that are never really explained or developed. Are you catching the joke? Nothing about this pair-up seems to make any sense from a writing standpoint, and Flash's design is so universally generic you could have him voiced by Mark Meer. He's an object character, an OC, if you will, whose entire purpose is to woo Twilight, and somehow it succeeds. Flash Sentry's entire purpose is to make fun of shipping fanfiction. Flash's entire purpose for existing is the same as the plot of damn near every single Twilight OC fanfiction ever written. Doesn't matter if the character is a generic pony, a generic human, a human face into Equestria, or a freaking Death Knight, this is going to be your story arc. So it makes sense that Flash and Twilight aren't going to be getting together. They seemingly have very little in common and only speak together in short bursts, and Twilight is only in the human world for maybe a few days at a time. This is as close to a one-night stand as you're ever gonna see on a children's cartoon. And that isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I find it's actually a good thing that Twilight's entire attraction to Flash Sentry seems to be based entirely on looks alone. Why? Because it happens all the goddamn time. There's no such thing as giving someone a chance. If you aren't attracted to them, you're not going to pursue a relationship with them. In fact, I will ask you this question. Why would you ever pursue a relationship with someone who you found to be physically unattractive? Unless you were already on such good terms with them that physical attractiveness was no longer a defining factor, you wouldn't. Here's another one to think about. The only tangible difference between men and women are cosmetic. So why are there some people who are only attracted to one gender and not the other? Lesson over, Joudre. The reproductive instinct is a very real thing, and no amount of wishful denial is going to change that. And keep in mind that this is happening in a high school, and most high school relationships don't last. Some do, don't get me wrong, but most of them don't. A guy gets together with a girl, and then he's on to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And instead of trying to push that reality out of children's heads, it's probably better to teach them about how to deal with it when it inevitably happens. Think about a kid who watches Flash and Twilight interact, but they never really get together. Kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for, and if a kid tries to figure that out, they're going to sit down and realize that despite being very enamored with one another, Flash and Twilight don't really have anything in common with one another. More so, they often just don't hang out with each other. They have nothing beyond physical attractiveness, and that's why it can't really go anywhere past that. A kid who comes to that realization is a kid who's going to think twice before saying, I can totally handle a long-distance relationship, or, I know I just met this person online, but we're total soulmates. In fact, it was a little girl who pointed that out to me, that Flash and Twilight look a lot like an online relationship, or someone you meet while you're on vacation. And she was right. They are. Now ask yourself, why would DHX portray this sort of relationship very clearly not going anywhere? Lesson over, Joudre. Even looking at the equestrian version of Flash Sentry, that problem still exists. Flash Sentry is all the way in the Crystal Empire, and even here, there's even less of a likely physical attraction between him and Twilight. Sure, there is one toward the end of the movie, but it looks like it's done entirely for the sake of the joke. The only thing noteworthy about Sentry is the fact that he's a guard and his hair is blue. What is it about a blue-haired royal guard that Twilight would honestly find attractive? Especially since that description would fit both Flash Sentry and that's my cue to wrap this up. I'm Jerry. And I need a glass of brain bleach.